Welcome to this week's episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. Today you have me, Michelle Walters, and my co-host Cinthia Varkevisser. We are going to spend today reflecting on a series that has been going on for months. We have been working on a series where we interview people related to various chakras. We've gone all the way now from the root chakra number 1 to the crown chakra number 7 and talked to lots of people for each different chakra. And it's been a whole lot of fun. And so we thought we would share today a few takeaways and highlights of the Chakra series in case you haven't had a chance to explore all of that wonderful content yet.
I loved this series. It was brilliant of you to think this up. We got to experience a lot of people in a different way. Everyone that we've talked to in their business, they know their business. However, once we came at it from the chakra system, we really got to see how people understood their clients and that they really did know, whether they knew the chakra system or not, they knew how to address their clients and take care of them, and it always did work within the chakra system that we were talking about. It was pretty incredible how it worked. It was
It
amazing.
was very interesting because we had some guests who came on the podcast with us, not really understanding what we were talking about. But as the episodes went along, they were like, oh, yeah, I do have to do with that concept. That is what I do to serve my clients. And so it was interesting to educate ourselves and our listeners and even some of our guests about these relationships. One of my biggest takeaways was that I didn't really understand the chakras very well before. I mean, I have seen the little posters on the wall of the yoga studio forever, and I've read plenty of books, and I've been like, oh, this is this, and this color means that. But I tell you now that I've talked to all these people, and we've really focused on what each chakra is about, and had the guests talk about how their energies align with that chakra. Now I kind of get it. It's taken a sort of abstract, invisible way of thinking about these energies and made it more embodied and human by featuring certain people and skill sets and energies and approaches with each of the different seven chakras. It's been so much fun.
I agree. The people now, the part that I thought was great is the lower chakra guests were the ones that were most curious about the chakras that they served. And that totally makes sense because first chakra is about security, foundation, and it would be the lower chakra people who are going, hey, I don't know exactly what that means. And they killed it. They were absolutely wonderful. And I agree with you. Even though I know the chakra systems, to hear how people were experiencing their challenges through that chakra system and how they were being helped and served just brought it to a completely different level. So we got to
So
go,
one of the things that I thought was really interesting is without getting too in the nitty-gritty about things, I've looked at the numbers on things and noticed that the root chakra, our first chakra system. Now we had more guests for that chakra than for many of the other ones, but even that with notwithstanding, we had so many people who were interested in root chakra concepts. And some of those have to do with money, both budgeting as well as finances. And we had Laura, the realtor, and we had Bobby in terms of talking about computer security. And so it was very interesting to me. And I think maybe we can take it as a hint about what our listeners might be looking for, was how popular those Chakra One episodes were.
and let's be real, we are practical mystics. You love being on the analytical side, and you are a mystic. Let's just call it what it is. And I like to call myself a mystic, and I love being practical. So it makes sense that we have a lot of people who are interested in the root chakra. That's just the way it is. Yeah.
So, Cynthia, you were saying earlier that you had some observations about second chakra and how that has is showing up for you at this time in your professional development.
Yes. The second chakra has to, it's, I love calling it the itty chakra, right? So it's receptivity, femininity, creativity. I knew that more conceptually than I did through application. And I felt like I knew it because I do martial arts and you have to be creative when you fight. Uh, but that is a whole lot of vulnerability that needs to happen, a whole lot of trust in order for there to be stuff going on in the second chakra. So we talked about the second chakra before I started writing my book. And I think that also helped me understand like, hey, this is a really feminine thing to do, is to start writing. And it's been amazing. A lot of tears, a lot of frustration, but it was incredible to see how the feminine works within the creativity, and that is all second chakra stuff. Now, what about you? What worked for you? What surprised you in the chakra series?
Well, there were a lot of surprises, but one of the things that I found really warm and lovely was when we were talking to people who were heart-centered
Yes.
and community-centered, and we talked to several folks in that category. We talked to Tracy Root, who has a wonderful community, and we also talked to Jeff Sarah Yakukuzi, and his episode was particularly popular because he has a group where he talks about healers helping healers. And I suspect that that episode might have been rather popular. I think many of our listeners are healers in their own ways. And if they are, and they're looking for support, and I tell you, this came up with a friend of mine at a networking group last week. That's a great episode to listen to and to recognize the benefits of Jeff's community.
It's true. A lot of healers are so busy checking out how their clients are doing in the state of the world, just everything that's going on inside and outside themselves, ourselves. It's easy to forget that we need to be clean, clear, healthy, and wealthy, right? And wise in order for us to keep moving on. I also thought it was interesting that we had Del Medina because she was on the political side. So Del's also a mystic, crazy good with her intuition, and she does not fuck around because she deals in politics and corporations. So it was great to have both sides, you
Yeah,
know. And Tracy was the great middle ground for the two sides of
yeah,
the heart
yeah.
chakra.
Yeah, Jeff's episode was number 160, and I think those other episodes are like 158 or 159. They're right in
Yeah,
the same area.
yeah. Jeff is just a ball of love anyway. You can't not like him. It's, he can say stuff he can say stuff and you're like, "Oh, not that wasn't even really an ow, but it was like, ooh, that's a truth that I'm not comfortable with." And then he just smiles in his way and then you're like, "Okay, that's something I need to check out." It's lovely, lovely, lovely. That's the great thing about him.
Let's step back to the third chakra.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you were surprised in your takeaways when it came to the third chakra.
The third chakra, I always talk about it's an emotional thing. In these emotional things that I talk about, I really glossed over pride. And when I would think about pride, I think about the the negative aspects of pride, where you think too much of yourself. But their pride is about personal power. It's about standing in personal power and going, this is what I've done and this is what I do. That's amazing and super important. Um, and so that's what I learned and have come to really appreciate about the third chakra.
I think that's fabulous. It is something that comes up pretty often with my clients is and I think it's true of people in general, not just the people I see as clients, but folks not remembering to, hey, take a beat, take a notice of yourself and what you have accomplished and how you have grown in the last 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, because it's right for you to own it.
Right,
And that's owning your accomplishments is very different from being egotistical or narcissistic, or those are things where it goes to the extreme. But
right,
it's important. It's your story.
right.
And it's important to own it and to have that pride.
The thing that I loved about this as well is Then we go into the fifth chakra. So the heart being the great equalizer, you have pride, your third chakra, personal power. Now you got to talk about it. And so fifth chakra was absolutely lovely to have someone like Stacia Crawford who talked about, you know, this is what you have. Let's use your gifts and really speak it out loud. And Allegra Bandy, who has this amazing voice and uses it for song as well as story. Just
Yeah, Allegra's voice just breaks me down every time. I just melt for her voice. But it was fun to talk to people who are working with their voices.
right.
And it is interesting now. I work with my voice, and never as a kid would I have imagined the importance and value of voice.
So amazing and so important, right? I think about Terry Sayer and, a woman who's lived a lot of her life in service as a teacher, where you have a voice, but teachers usually their voices are in the classrooms and they spend a lot of their time, you know, um, in that world. And so for her voice to go beyond, right? Mayor Sayer
Mayor
and
Sayer.
Mayor Sayer,
Yeah.
Terry from Tulare. And all the wisdom. I would love to pick her brain and think about what she's been doing with all her years.
Yeah. Oh, there's many more conversations with Terry Sayer to be had. That's for
Yes.
sure. That's
Agreed.
for sure.
Agreed.
So we finished the series from root to crown, talking about the crown chakra. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Dejana's episode for crown chakra?
I absolutely loved the episode with Dejana because Dejana is all about soul journeys, soulful journeys. Uh, it could be at home, it could be afar. You could tell because she's gone to Egypt, she's going to Bali, and it's an inner journey. She does medicinal work as well. And my favorite part was her passion and belief in the plant medicine. And I believe it as well. However, her faith is unshakable. And to see unshakable faith is just inspiring. And I love the fact she's like, how can this be illegal? These are plants. This is from the earth. It's from nature. How can it be?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And yeah, she did a great job.
Yes.
She did a great job.
Episode 173.
Yeah, so our chakra episodes go, I don't know, way back
Right.
to when we were recording, I think late last spring is when all of this started. And it's now the first week in February, and we are finally wrapping up this Chakra Series journey. I would be curious if we have any listeners out there who have another great theme that we might think about or play with as a way of bringing you all what you want to hear about. Cynthia and I have talked about reprising the Chakra Series, maybe in a slightly different format, but it has been a joy to devise and to produce and to share with the world. So thank you, Cynthia, and thank you to all of our guests on Mind Power Meets Mystic for the Chakra Series, and thank you to all of our listeners, without whom we would not be here.
Absolutely. So, so grateful. Thank you so much for listening.
So we'll see what comes next, but it will be exciting on another episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. Bye bye.
It was like 12, 13 minutes. That works.